And in the season finale, Aang, Katara, and Sokka decide to get a little bit of a head start by checking out the Armada. They take one ship out, but then when they fly out on Appa, they realize there are a lot more ships, and they completely underestimated the Fire Nation. They report this information back to Arnook, and they say maybe an hour until the Armada's here. But the Armada shows up a little bit sooner than that. It forces all of the waterbenders to grab weapons, prepare for battle, and that's when Katara goes up to Master Pakku and says, I need to join this fight. And he's still being hard-headed about the situation. She says, put your pride aside. You need everybody that you can right now. But she's not just sticking up for herself. She's sticking up for all of the women in the village. When Pakku looks over, he's got 30 women just standing there ready to fight for their home. And his wife comes up to him and says, stop being hard-headed. You're so focused on the past that you're about to cost us a future. It's then that Pakku finally sees the light, that women can contribute to this fight. They could be valuable assets. So not only does he give the okay, but Pakku actually has some trainees report to her to help her out in any way she needs. Now, Katara isn't the only woman that wants to get involved with this. So does Yue. But she wants to help people. She wants to keep people safe. And even though her father doesn't want her anywhere near the battle, Yue is a free thinker. So Arnook grabs Sokka and says, go, help her. But most importantly, protect her. And Sokka swears to Arnook that he will not leave her side. The battle wages all day and all night. All of this under the order of Commander Zhao. But Zhao has a little bit of a trick up his sleeve. Thanks to the Fire Nation spies in Omashu, they were able to build a prototype of the Mechanist airship, and they're going to use it to get behind enemy lines. Now, the airship isn't big enough to really do any damage, but Zhao isn't looking to drop a bomb or anything like that. No, he's thinking big picture. He's been studying up, and he knows that the moon in the sky is currently the ice moon, a rare cosmic event. It causes the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world to grow thin on that night. Now, on this night, spirits give up their immortality for one night to be amongst the waterbenders. That means the moon spirit and the water spirit are going to be there. They do this to better understand the yin and yang of the world. That's when Commander Zhao pulls out that box with the Water Nation logo on it, and he reveals Kurik's knife. Because Zhao is planning on killing the moon spirit that night. When you take out the moon spirit, you take out all of the waterbenders. They're not going to be able to do anything. And as Commander Zhao is telling Iroh this, Iroh is mortified. I mean, there's a line that even Iroh won't cross. He doesn't want to tamper with the spirit world. But Commander Zhao, he wants to be known as Zhao the Moon Slayer. Iroh is still appalled at this, but he's going to sit back and see what happens. Now, as the airship makes its way behind enemy lines so Commander Zhao can find the moon spirit, Avatar Kurik could feel the fact that his knife was close, so he wanted to give Aang a warning. Kurik warns him that this can only mean one thing. Zhao is trying to kill the spirits, and the Avatar's power is great, but it pales in comparison of the spirit's power. This causes Aang to get sidetracked from the battle, and now he needs to find Sokka and Yue because he needs to warn them and figure out where Zhao is. So he grabs Katara. Now at this point, Sokka and Yue have gone to the most sacred spot in the north. Unfortunately, in this battle, even Momo was injured, and Yue knew one spot where she could bring him back. It was the same spot where her father brought her when she was sick as a little girl and prayed to the moon spirit, and the moon spirit answered that prayer. The good news is Momo does come back to life, but shortly after he does, Yue and Sokka notice that the airship is about to land. They didn't notice it before. And Sokka recognizes it. He tells Yue, I helped design the thing. It's not really designed for combat, it's designed for transport. So because of that, they're going to sit back, they're going to watch and see what happens and see if they have to intervene. When Zhao does land, he tells the group that the moon spirit and the water spirit are going to take shapes of an animal. They just have to find those animals. He looks at Iroh and says, since you're so well versed in spiritual matters, I think you can help me identify them. And that's when Iroh pushes back and says, I don't know what I'm looking for. This is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You think they'll be an animal, but they could be a pair of trees in a grove. They could be insects on a blade of grass. They could be anything. And no matter how much Iroh continues to try to talk sense into Commander Zhao, Zhao ain't listening. And he says, you either help me or you watch as I burn this whole place to the ground. And for a guy like Iroh, who has respect for the spirit world, he can't let Commander Zhao do that. So he has to find these two spirits before Zhao does. And help is coming. Aang and Katara are making a beeline for Zhao, Iroh, that whole group. But they're stopped by Zuko. Zuko was able to sneak in behind enemy lines, and he still has sights on getting Aang. He still thinks that he can salvage this thing for his father. But Aang doesn't have time for this. He's got to go stop Zhao. So he tells Katara, "Can you handle him?" And she says, "Yeah, of course." Zuko thinks that he's going to wipe the floor with Katara, but Katara is oozing confidence. People are calling her master. It's Katara who's getting the better of Zuko. And as Katara is distracting Zuko with her skills, it gives Aang the ability to go link up with Sokka and Yue so they can formulate a plan on how to stop Zhao. They watch as Zhao and his men walk around looking for any signs of the gods, and then Zhao spots it. It's two koi fish in a pond, black and white. The way they're swimming, it looks like yin and yang. He calls over one of his men to give him a burlap sack to put the fish in, and that is when Iroh begs him not to do this. He warns him that the power of the spirits is not to be trifled with. And without the moon, the world is going to be thrown off balance. In a last-ditch effort, he says even Ozai wouldn't want this, but Zhao, so hungry to put his name to something, says Ozai lacks vision. He's so fixated on the games he's playing with his family, he can't see the bigger picture. As soon as Zhao puts the fish in the sack, the moon turns bright red. It affects the war going on outside. It affects the fight going on between Katara and Zuko. That's when Aang, Sokka, and Yue have to step out from the shadows and say, all right, you're not going to do this. For whatever reason, though, Aang doesn't use his powers to just throw Zhao back where he would release the fish. No, he doesn't do that. He tries to reason with this guy. Big mistake. Someone has to step in because it's obvious that Zhao is dead set on killing the moon, and that is when Iroh does. He throws a fireball at Zhao. Zhao drops the fish. Aang, using his powers, starts to pick the fish bag up, but Zhao grabs the dagger and spears the fish right before Aang can safely get it back into the water, killing the moon. As soon as this happened, it affects all of the waterbenders, especially Yue. She starts collapsing. She's losing color in her face. As soon as this happens, the Fire Nation starts taking control of the battle, breaching the city. And while the waterbenders want to fight back, they don't have the energy to do so without the moon. As for Zhao, right after he kills the fish, Iroh goes into a rage, throwing fireballs at everybody that Zhao brought with him. It forces Zhao to run away, like a bitch. And as for Aang, he's thinking of what to do in this situation, how to make it all right. Aang remembers what Avatar Kuruk said about how the Avatar's power is great, but it pales in comparison of the elemental spirits. So Aang, heeding all their advice, decides to do what they've all said. Put his own agenda aside for the betterment of everybody. With one spirit left, the water spirit, Aang gets into the water. He goes into an Avatar-like state, and he lets that spirit control his body, just like Avatar Kyoshi did. And what results is a water-like Godzilla figure that goes on a rampage. Aang is no more. Nah, Aang's been replaced. Because of this, a lot of the Fire Nation start to flee, including Zuko, Iroh. Yeah, even that jackass Zhao is fleeing. And as Iroh and Zuko are getting out of there, Zuko spots Zhao, and he wants vengeance. He wants revenge. Iroh tries to talk him out of it, but he doesn't want to hear it. Zhao can't believe that Zuko is alive. He also needs to worry about the fact that Zuko's trying to kill him. And Zhao is no match for Zuko. Zuko finally gets Zhao on the ground. He grabs his collar. He gets close to him. And he says to him, "You ruined everything. That avatar was mine. My mission was..." And Zhao cuts him off. He tells him, "Your mission was a sham. Did you really think the Fire Lord was going to take you back? Ozai was playing with you. And the winner is the one without the scar from Daddy. The winner's your sister. Ozai was just using you as motivation for her. I mean, who do you think was my ally through all of this? Who convinced the Fire Lord to send me the archers, to give me the armada? Azula told me everything I needed to know about you. All you were, this entire time, was a pawn." And that reality sinking in for Zuko is a lot to take. He unleashes his rage. He tries to do so on Zhao, but it doesn't work. He just hits the wall. and it looks like he's going to spare Zhao. As he walks away, though, Zhao tries to attack him, and luckily for Zuko, Iroh had his back. Iroh throws a fireball right at Zhao. It knocks Zhao into the water. The rest of the Fire Nation, though, they're trying to fight off Aang, or whatever's left of them. But the water spirit is easily throwing ships aside as if they're matchbox cars. As Aang starts turning the tables on the Fire Nation, Yue realizes that it's not enough. The world will still be out of balance no matter what without the moon, but since the moon touched her as a child, she still has some of it left in her. She knows what she has to do. She kisses Sokka one last time, she says goodbye to him, and then she gives herself up into the water, which allows her to become the moon spirit. Now, the moon is back, the water is fine, but Aang, he's still in that Avatar-like state. Katara is trying to get him back. She's pleading with him that he wasn't meant to die 100 years ago. And he's certainly not meant to die now. The world needs him. She needs him. Aang has become a family member to her. All this pleading does work. Aang returns, the water spirit goes back to wherever the water spirit was, but the destruction that was caused gives Aang a lot of anxiety. He feels really guilty about all of it. Aang puts a lot of pressure on himself. He feels like he should have stopped all of this before people lost their lives. People like Han. People like Yue, who made the ultimate sacrifice. And Aang isn't the only one that's beating himself up over loss. Sokka's doing the same thing. When Arnuk comes to mourn the loss of his daughter, Sokka is taking the blame, saying he should have done something. But Arnuk, he doesn't see it like that. He knows his daughter would have done what his daughter would have done. She was a free thinker. And he's appreciative of the fact that Sokka was there by her side in a scary moment. When Sokka and Katara link back up with Aang, they let him know that none of what he's looking at is his fault. What he needs to do is focus on the future. And that's when Aang remembers something that Gyatso told him. Let go of the past or you'll never have a future. Katara tells him, yeah, exactly. You're going to learn waterbending. I'm going to make sure of that. And then you'll learn earthbending, which means we have to go back to Amashu. But as the Northern Water Tribe starts to clean up and rebuild, Iroh and Zuko are in a small kayak trying to find Lieutenant G. And Iroh asks Zuko, what do you want to do now? Zuko doesn't have an answer because he feels like everything he's been looking for 3 years was all for nothing. And he's not wrong. When his dad finds out about the loss in the Northern Water Kingdom, he's not at all upset. He says to the messenger, well, if Zuko's strong, he survives. If not, sometimes you got to sacrifice the weak. But the real reason why he's not at all upset over the loss in the Northern Water Tribe is the fact that the Northern Water Tribe was never the target. He didn't care about it. The real target was Umashu. He sent Princess Azula and a small army to take over the city, while everybody else, including the Avatar, was distracted with the huge battle. And they were able to do it. They took King Bumi into custody. They now have control of Umashu for the first time in years, centuries maybe. And now only Ba Sing Se stands between them and total conquest of the Earth Kingdom. But that's not all. Things are getting better for the Fire Nation. Pretty soon, for the first time in 100 years, Sozin's Comet is returning. And that is music to Lord Ozai's ears. And that is the end of Season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Thank you so much for getting this part of the recap. Please consider subscribing to my channel. Hit thumbs up if you like this. Smash that thumbs down button if I got a name wrong or something else wrong. Smash it hard, folks. I didn't watch the anime, so I'm kind of a novice when it comes to this stuff. But let me know your predictions for Season 2. Let me know if you like Season 1, if it should get re-upped, or if it's another Cowboy Bebop. But just know, I do appreciate you guys checking out this recap.